Welcome to Friends, Life, and Ministry. Real talk from four pastors with over 200 years of ministry experience.
Hey, welcome to Friends, Life, and Ministry. We're three friends. Our friend John Van Dinther couldn't make the call today. And today we want to talk to you about how do you make more friends? How do you connect with staff or lay leaders or volunteers in your church? How do you encourage them? How do you thank them? How do you build that sense of teamwork together?
Hey,
I think
Paul, let me ask you a question right away. Can you be friends with your staff?
Well, I think I can. I mean, I'm not saying that it's best friends, but I can. I feel like I can have an honest friendship with them. Um, Sometimes for me, the difference is knowing to say, "Hey, I'm talking to you as the boss now," or "I'm talking to you as a friend now." And
Yeah.
just differentiating that. I guess the thing I most want is just for people to feel like, first and foremost, we're all Christ followers and we're under oarsmen, rowing this boat together and committed to one another. And I found if I was just part of doing fun things with people or spending time with people or asking about their family, that really helped. How about for you, Steve? What are ways that you built camaraderie with lay leaders and staff people?
Um, One of the, I think the keys with our overseers, I know that you can call them elders or deacons, whatever your organization is, but those people, we made the highest priority to develop really close friendships. We met twice a month, and our particular church, men were the overseers, but their wives always came and then met with Lynn, and they were viewed as very spiritual women and played a very, very key role. It's just how our church was established. And we would do retreats together. We would uh, go out to eat together. For our 25th wedding anniversary, my wife and I took them all out to eat um, and just celebrate that occasion with us. And so there were some people that we became, very, very close friends. I think some of the closest friendships I've ever had. And others were very busy with work or something, but that was really good. I think with staff, one of the things that I did that had the biggest impact was at Christmas time, all of the staff's children, I would write a personal letter to them, and then I would put $50 in it. And this came not from the church, but it came from Lynn and me. And and so after the first year, the kids knew something good was going to be in that letter. But what was really important was taking the time to write something. And I would write about, I knew their sacrifice.
Mhm.
And then I went on and honored their father and their mother. And with one pastor who had four children, I would write on this that this letter needs to be read aloud by one of the other kids, so that it became, that was the only time I did it with that one. But I always tried to think of some way that I could invest in uh, our custodians' kids. I wanted them all to feel like they were ministry partners and that they were known and loved by Lynn and me. And I just, I think that actually when I left pastoral ministry, that connection was something I missed the most.
How about you, Paul? I think you did something at Christmas, didn't you?
Well, I followed some of what Steve told me those ideas, and I just kind of copied them, and
Okay.
those were helpful. I think the like Steve said, the principle behind it is, do people feel like they're known and loved? Because the work we're asking them to do is often demanding work and spiritual work. And if they feel like they're known and loved, then it's something that they can enter into, I think, with a greater sense of joy.
Hmm.
I think going out of your way to just thank people, just every day try to thank 5 to 10 people, either staff or volunteers, for anything you see them do. And that can be really impactful for people. Sending cards like that. Um, those are some things. Bill, I know you've done a lot with even doing like retreats and
Yeah.
events like that.
At Christmas, we used to do the envelope we would send out was pretty much the same every year. Uh, the first thing was the Christmas offering, which was a missions offering, and that was always for something away from the church, not directly for us. The second line, though, was for the staff Christmas gift. And we used to just take money out of the budget and give them a gift. And then I finally thought, well, let's let the people share in that. The people love the staff and they'd be glad to give some support to that. And that was a very, very healthy offering that would come through. And then we could subsidize it with something from the budget if we needed to give a significant gift to each of the staff people. And then the
Wonderful.
final thing, one of my favorite things, by the way, if you've never done this, I'd recommend this to any pastor, was the third line was where needed most. And that was actually one of our biggest offerings always, because people ultimately trust the leaders of the church.
Mhm.
And you would just say, look, if you need it in the missions fund or for the staff or for general fund needs, wherever you need to use it, you use it there. We trust you with the money. And the where needed most became one of our, and they still do that every year, several times during the year. Like even on an Easter offering, it'll be the Easter offering, but there'll be another line where needed most, and you just trust the leaders of the church that they know how to spend it. But a lot of our expending, I would actually budget money for my salary money. I would rebudget it so that I had resources to give away gifts to people when they would come to visit, or to do a really nice retreat. And our we had 3 retreats every year. We had one in the spring for the staff, pastoral staff. We had one in November, early November for the pastoral staff, and then we had one in January that was for the church board and the staff together. And they were very nice. They were at a hotel, usually out in Palm Springs area, and we would have really great retreats together. And the thing about retreats for us was always they were they were built around relationships. Our primary thing wasn't to get business done. Our primary thing was to connect with each other. So when we had the staff ones, there was always free time. Like we would maybe meet in the morning and then they would have the rest of the day off. And that was to encourage them to do stuff together. So some of the guys would want to go play golf together. They could. Or some of the women would want to go shopping at a mall there, or a lot of times people would want to go see a movie together, and it was a kind of a fun thing to do. And one of the things we found that developed was there were, especially with women, one of the women would get a movie and
Mm.
then show that movie in the hotel room, and then invite anybody that wanted to come, and they would just pack the hotel room, and people would bring in snacks and stuff, and just watch a movie on the video screen there. So
Bill,
there's all kinds of ways to build relationship.
just for information, how many the peak, how many staff did you have?
Well, pastoral staff, we had 15.
And then other were
Uh,
the
Sometimes there would be, for example, like my assistant would come, so she would be number 16, or sometimes there was somebody else that for some kind of a strategic reason was invited. So, and then we'd have guests. We had Steve and Lynn come in one year and just talk. And Lynn is such an expert on evaluating staff, everything. Talk about the ways that's meaningful, and we just try to bring in different voices. And I used to like baseball teams when they would get to spring training. They'd bring in a couple of like if you were in the Minnesota Twins, you'd bring Harmon Killebrew in, at spring training or something to talk to the team about what's significant. And I like the way that they honor the past, but also try to bring in some significant speakers. So one of them, we brought a guy named Phil Hodges, who was one of the top leaders with the Lead Like Jesus movement in California. So I think it's significant to bring in people like that.
These are great ideas. I think for anyone watching, if you just make a priority every day to try to think of ways of thanking people and building relationship with people, and then like Bill and Steve were saying, if you plan ahead to make some events, kind of special events, and a retreat time like that can be really valuable because people can walk away feeling like they know each other in a deeper way. And when they know each other, they're going to communicate better. They're going to be, more committed to the cause and mission that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And all these things are just being kind to people. I mean, we have to evaluate people. Sometimes we have to criticize things they've done or correct them on something. But that doesn't mean we can't be friends, can't be supporters and pray together and know each other. I think that's the key to building a good church.
I can remember one time I was sitting in my office and I was always aware of the workload on staff, especially seasonal workload. When we think of the hardest points of or hardest seasons in some people's jobs. And so I asked my assistant to go and get our custodian. And just a huge job. It was a church plant that now had a real large building. We had one person taking care of all of that. And so he came in and he looked really afraid. And I said, shut the door. And I had no idea the way that I set it up. It sounded like I was going to fire him. But I actually just described in detail hidden areas of the building that were spotless, and how I had gone through and just saw dings in the walls that had been fixed, and without anybody ever saying anything. And I just was so happy to have him doing what he was doing. And I told him this, and I said, I just want to give you this bonus as a way of letting you know from me and from our overseers that they notice. And I think it was $1,000, which is it's a significant statement. And he started to cry, and then he told me, "I thought you were going to fire me," and and so I never approached another one like that.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't want anybody to be afraid, but throughout the year, what our leadership gave me permission is to give bonuses throughout the year based upon um, uh, if there was an increase in somebody's workload. And so if it was a Sunday school Christmas program, the staff that oversaw that, I always met with them, let them know how much I liked it, and then did the same thing with our youth pastor. It was about a month into the fall where all of that first month's energy had been expended, and then he kind of hit the wall. And with him, I didn't give him any money. I just gave him an extra week off to go up to northern Wisconsin and go hunting. It's just different things with different people. But I loved the staff that we had, and we were just very, very fortunate. Didn't have uh, I I felt loved by them, and I loved them. I'm not real good at saying hard things. I wish that I would have been better at that. Um, uh, but it's kind of who I am. And, uh, I've been doing a lot of reflection, and my dominant things are I really love people and I really do evangelism. All of that
Yeah.
focuses in on seeing people's potential in Christ, um, and being optimistic. And now, where I would say I was much more of a grace giver than a truth teller to staff, I think that my brother Paul here, he had a much better balance. And so I was hoping I could encourage people enough to lead them in the right way, and it didn't always work.
Well, it
Talk about
doesn't
your
always work,
balance.
but it works a lot of times. And we all would be better off if we built relationships and showed love to people. In the end of the day, the love remains. The loving relationships you establish remain, and it's one of the chief things that if you're a leader of any organization, you need to think about and work on. And one thing to do is just say every day, have I expressed thanks to people wherever I have seen them do good things. Well, we want to thank you for listening today. This, if you have great ideas of how to thank or encourage people, shoot them our way, and we'll look forward to talking to you again on faith, life, and ministry. Bye now.
Thanks for listening or watching. We would love to hear your questions.